Hi. Video on. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you've had a pleasant day and enjoyed the sunshine, to say the least. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of One Vision, One Voice, its volunteers, patrons, and trustees, we are delighted to welcome you all to our South Asian Heritage Celebration evening, which, as you know, includes in the main the countries of Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Pakistan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. We welcome all our friends and the community as a whole that have joined us this evening via Zoom, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. We extend a warm welcome also to our Watford MP Dean Russell, Deputy Mayor Aga Deighton, County Councillors, and all our distinguished guests and speakers. Welcome one and all. In a moment, Daya, who is a key One Voice committee member, will tell us more about the South Asian Heritage Month. But just before that, allow me to extend heartfelt condolences to all families and friends that lost loved ones here in the UK and abroad during the COVID pandemic. Though we celebrate South Asian Heritage Month this evening, we also remember and celebrate the lives of those that contributed so much to our multi-ethnic communities, including the recent passing of Shabnam Sadiq. Now, over to you, Daya.
Thank you, Michael. So my name is Daya Gogowal and I'm a British Sikh. My culture plays an inescapable role that regularly leaves me railing or inspired, but never in between. I'm a third generation Indian from a Punjabi family that immigrated to the UK in the early 60s. Growing up, denying this truth was a battle that never ended. At the time, though I was determined, my heritage is a birthmark I cannot avoid. The process of coming to terms with this leaves me feeling uncomfortably cognizant of my place in this world, or at least what others think of it. South Asian Heritage Month runs from today till the 18th of July. Today, the 18th of July to 17th of August. And this is the second year it is becoming more and more celebrated. It seeks to raise the profile of British South Asian heritage and its history within the UK through education, forms of arts, culture, and commemorating these with the goal of helping people to better understand the diversity of the present day and the present Britain we live in. To improve a social cohesion across the UK, and South Asian Heritage Month also is a month about reclaiming the history and the identity of a British South Asian. People need to be able to tell their own stories, and this is an opportunity to show what it means to be South Asian in the 21st century, as well as to look at the past to see how Britain became the diverse country it is today. South Asian influences can be found everywhere in Britain, from our food to our clothes, to our music and even our words. The streets of our towns and cities are rich with colours, sights and sounds of proud British life that adds to the diversity of the nation. Let us celebrate together now. And before we hear from our first speaker, let's enjoy in a short video clip. Thank you.
I have a question. Why is my name so hard to pronounce? Why is it when it comes to my cultural history, everyone has so much doubt? I have a question. Why are we sold products that attack our beautiful skin complexions? I have a question. Why don't we know the depth of our ancestry? I have a question. Why don't we talk about our mental health and self-reflection? I have a question. How much did Beji and Baba give up to make it here? I have a question. How much did we as a community sweep under the carpet? How many much-needed conversations were never made out of fear? But enough of that. One thing let's just make clear. South Asian Heritage Month for Education, History and Equality is finally here.
I hope you enjoyed that. Very good indeed. Our first speaker this evening is Sunil Singhvi. Sunil is an experienced, versatile media professional who has fashioned a career spanning broadcast, entertainment, and big tech, all with a focus on helping talent understand and tell their most authentic story. In 2002, Sunil joined the BBC to help set up their brand new radio station, One Extra, which was aimed at young urban audiences. After winning industry awards for radio programs and outside broadcasts, Sunil left the BBC to join the UK's #1 talent agency, James Grant Group, which now is YM&U. In 2012, as Twitter started to build out its EMEA team, Sunil joined the pre-IPO micro-blogging site to lead their relationships with the entertainment industry. After being promoted to director, Sunil was asked to lead global music from the company's San Francisco headquarters. At the start of 2017, Instagram came calling and Sunil returned to the UK to lead all Instagram partnerships across Northern Europe. In 2019, he was named as a tech titan in the Evening Standard's list of influential Londoners. After helping to establish IGTV as a home for young creators to go long form and reels as a place to explode their fan base, Sunil left Instagram in search of a new opportunity to help artists tell their stories. It was recently announced that Sunil has been appointed the Chief Business Development Officer for leading NFT marketplace Rarible. Sunil has met the Queen Mother at Clarence House when he was head boy at the Parmiter School, and also Her Majesty the Queen at Buckingham Palace as part of his role in Instagram. Sunil's CV is excellent by all accounts. Over to you, Sunil.
I mean, I should start with an apology, Michael. I didn't realize you were going to have to read the whole thing. I would have subbed it down a bit more had I known you were going to read it as it was.
Would you believe I did sub it? It is, you are worthy of an entire book. Wikipedia is not sufficient.
Well,
so we are honored that you are with us. You've wonderful experience. So please, we look forward to hearing from you this evening.
Well, thank you both so much. And I wanted to just take a few minutes of your time, and I won't go on because I think there are incredible people on the agenda in front of us. So I won't fill up too much space. But what I do think is, as I watched the video, which is wonderfully produced, by the way, whoever created that video, they've done a brilliant job on it. There were a whole heap of questions in there. And sadly, I don't have the answer to any of those questions. But I think that's the part that I find so fascinating about South Asian Heritage Month. I think too often when other communities, when the broad mainstream media looks at the Asian experience, they look at it as a one-dimensional piece. And too often we're portrayed in the media and in newspapers as one thing or another. So I think moments like this are vital. And I'm so pleased to see people from wider communities as well joining us today to listen and be part of it. But I know full well that my experience is and will definitely be very different to Daya's. And that's important. And listening to each other and hearing each other is vitally, vitally important. I've been very, very fortunate. I grew up in Watford. My father is going to speak next. I grew up in a loving home, miles and miles away from our wider family. So my relationship with the family based in India is perhaps not as close as we would all like it to be because of, distance and the fact that WhatsApp and FaceTime didn't exist when we were growing up. So the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year gap between visits to India made it much harder to build relationships. I'm excited that technology will play a massive part in my children and hopefully all of your children being much closer to their grandparents, much closer to their cousins than ever before. And I think that bond will help us. And I think the fact that, as Michael mentioned tonight, being streamed on YouTube and Facebook gives us a chance to broaden out our experiences. From my side, I have been very, very lucky to lead a career that's been quite diverse and has seen me have all kinds of wild adventures that I will save for another time. But the one thing I would say is along that road I've been the only South Asian in the vast majority of rooms I've been in. The media is in itself implicitly biased towards kids that are very wealthy, because they're the ones that get work experience. They're the ones that get the nepotism to get them the jobs early. So I would say, having lived that experience, my South Asian heritage meant that I felt lonely in some of those rooms, but also felt encouraged by the fact that we need somebody to sit in those rooms first to invite the next person in and the next person in. So I would say to all of you in whatever career, whatever field you're in, wherever you can, we need to open more doors. And I think we're going to hear that more and more as we look at the other speakers as that are coming later today. The ability we have, and actually the burden we have now, is to open more doors because the barriers are gone to some extent. But the reflection I would have on my time and my upbringing is that my parents gave and gave and gave. And although I'm excited to hear from my dad in a minute, I actually feel like my mum could also spend 20 minutes or half an hour. If any of you know Nirmala Singhvi, MBE, she also has her story to tell as well. So for all of us that are going to tell our stories, there is another person, another 5, another 10 people in our families that will also tell these stories. So I'll wrap it up by saying this. I'm honoured to be here. And I'm proud to play a part in the community and proud to play a part alongside all of you. And the challenge for us all is to open the door for the next set of people. And with that, Dad, for the first time I think I'll ever say this in my life, I'm going to hand over to you.
Wonderful, Sunil. Thank you so much. We are incredibly proud of you, to say the least. Mr. Singhvi, Raj is an engineer, proud father of Sunil, and husband of the wonderful Nirmala, or as we affectionately know as Nemo. Raj, may I ask you if you could share with us briefly, when did you arrive in the UK? Why did you travel to these shores? That is, what was the purpose? And what has been your experience since?
Okay, I was working in Calcutta. This was the year 1967. And I had a choice really, either go to Japan for 3 months or come to UK, because I had an invitation from here, from one of the companies to work with them. And I decided to come here. And fortunately, I don't regret that one. So as soon as I arrived, I think within 3 years, I sort of made up my mind, so I'm going to stay here. The country is a lot different to when I came here. I came on 1st of May, and would you believe it was snowing on that day? That was the only time in May. And so first experience was a bit different, but I thought this is the way it is all the time. But later on realized that wasn't the case. But country definitely is a lot different than it was in 1967. Things have improved a lot, and in my view, partly because of South Asian people, we have contributed a lot. In the beginning, probably wasn't easy to settle here, but since I think the last few years, things have improved more and more, and we are visible everywhere. You can go anywhere in the country, you will find somewhere we are there. I remember once going to a village outside Swansea, and there were only 3 shops in the whole village, and all of them belonged to Asians. So that's a sort of a presence we have now. And everywhere you look now, you will find we are there in the high positions. So whether you look at politics, whether you look at the media, everywhere we are there. And I think we should be proud. And I'm definitely proud to be South Asian. And I feel quite privileged and happy to be here.
Thank you, Raj.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Raj.
Thank you.
And Sunil. What amazing, 2 different landscapes of experiences as well, and the way that they've developed their careers in such a great way, and the legacy that we all have from those experiences. So just going to put over to one speaker, Councillor Asif Khan, for growth, infrastructure and planning. And he's also a councillor for Legates Ward in Watford. Councillor Asif Khan is a dynamic and experienced manager who has provided motivational leadership and day-to-day management of teams. So there you go. The floor is yours, Councillor Asif Khan.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. I'm just going to ask Enoch, can you put up the PowerPoint for me? And can I just thank everyone to do so? So I am Asif Khan, and I'm a counsellor in my one part of my life, a dad in another part of my life. And also I work in education, further education for 20 years, and I've had various roles from
Hello, greetings everybody. This is Garinda Chadha, filmmaker. I am here on the road, as you can see, so I'm sorry I can't be with you.
Mate. Sir? You alright? Yeah, good, you? Yes, thank you, mate. Oh, you might need to hang on, mate.
Well, you're showing 8.
Bassie's off sick.
Is he not on the thing?
I'm sure we'll get there in a moment.
No problem.
Apologies, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, greetings everybody. This is Garinda Chadha,
Sunil, it would be
filmmaker.
incredibly helpful at some point if AI could iron out all the mistakes that we humans make when it comes to running the right video.
Well, yeah, from 10 years of broadcast experience, I would say this. Don't worry about the hiccups. There's always a hiccup. No one remembers them afterwards. You just remember how you carried on. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. You're fine. I think the PowerPoint's back.
I think we've got it.
My PowerPoint is back.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Over to you, Councillor.
Okay, thank you. So, as I said, so what I wanted to do with you was just to talk about my journey to where I am at the moment on the 18th of July 2021. And part of that journey is fundamentally part of my heritage. You know, I am of a Kashmiri, Pakistani, Indian, Muslim, South Asian heritage. And there's a picture there of my Ami, Abu, Bhaijan, and my Khala. So those of you who understand, you know, that's my mum, that's my dad, that's my older brother. A little baby in between is my oldest brother, and that's my auntie there. That's a picture of my parents in the 60s, just before Abu, dad, was coming here to the UK. That's part and parcel of my heritage. And you know, as someone from a Kashmiri heritage with relatives in both India and Pakistan, you know, part of my my heritage is actually the trauma of partition does build part of my character, part of my history. So go next slide, please. And this is Dad, Abu, in the late 60s, coming here, all dapper in his brown suit. And I think he's sitting there in Casbury Park with a friend of his, those of you who can see him. So, you know, being here, you know, part and parcel, this is like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people of South Asian heritage who emigrated to the UK because of links that the UK had with the South Asian, with the Indian subcontinent. Next slide, please. In the 70s, my mum came, Ami came, and those are my brothers. As you can see, boisterous, one on the right, who's a doctor now, a bit bored. The other one on the left-hand side is an accountant, you know, feeling a bit bored. And my brother, just older than me there, being a bit fidgety. That's mum in the 70s, just come off and arrived in the UK. Again, much like many, many families here in the UK. But again, part of my route, part of my journey. And guess who's that? You got the cool haircuts from the early 1980s showing off in front of the Datsun Sunny there. You know, those bowl cuts were remarkable in the 1980s. And that's actually, I live still at that house, at this property. I'm sitting in the room where this property is at the moment. And that's one of the embarrassing pictures. That's me in the middle, if anyone wants to point out. That's my older brother to the right and younger brother to the left, wearing his koti, his little waistcoat with mirrors on it. And that was very traditional in the 80s. And he's going to hate me, my brothers, by showing that picture. But I thought that is part of our identity. I mean, at school, at Parkgate School, Judy's here. You can see me in my embarrassing picture. And that's my class photo. Again, it developed me as I was growing up as a young lad here, born in Watford, brought up in Watford. Next slide. Oh, and that's me at the grammar school. Oh my gosh, that's my many of you probably can still see the similarities. That hairstyle is exactly the same as it is today, and the glasses are virtually the same. That's about, goodness me, 1987, so 30 odd years ago. And that is where I am now. Was 2 years ago, as the first civic mayor or chairman of Watford Council from a Pakistani heritage. Now, the reason why I just went through that quick journey with you was to show that all of us come from similar backgrounds. You know, we have that story there where actually we share many things together and celebrate many things together, and that's really emphasize. We celebrate a similar culture. Our food is probably second to none. Our history is very same from the South Asian culture. You know, we all come from the same history that we have, and our love of music is absolutely tremendous. Our music, whether it's Muhammad Rafi, Lata Mangeshkar, or whether it is Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, or I don't know any of the latest ones. Those are the ones that I grew up with and still have play at the moment. Those music there that develops our culture is something which we should all be proud of and develop. That makes me part of that culture. You know, I believe that we are a fantastic mosaic, and that's our part of our identity. And that Britishness that we have, that we have as well, makes us unique, and that positive impact that we've brought to this country is something which will drive this nation forward. Can I thank you all? I hope you enjoy that quick whiz through some family photos, some embarrassing ones, but I thought actually, you know, that is part of who we are. And, you know, some of us have got really good careers, some of us have got not so good careers, but we work together and share one another, making sure that we learn from one another. And that's fundamentally my point. Let's learn from one another and make our society, our town much better. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, Councillor Asif Khan. That was brilliant. I must say that seeing some of those photographs, you remind me of some of my own black and white when my family arrived in Australia many years ago, and my daughter, who's just recently returned from Australia, was sharing with me some of the black and white photographs that she'd received from her grandparents, showing myself and my brother as we were youngsters. So it brought back some memories. Thank you for sharing them and for your kind words. Thank you, Councillor Asif Khan. Our next speaker is Dr. Patras Bahadur. Dr. Patras Bahadur serves as the director of the Global Center for Adventist Muslim Relations at the world headquarters of the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. He holds a Doctor of Ministry from Andrews University and is currently pursuing his doctorate from the Oxford Center for Mission Studies in England. He began his career in 1982 as an accountant for the Pakistan Union after having studied in the Pakistan Adventist Seminary. Later, he completed his bachelor's in accountancy from Adventist University of the Philippines and received a gold medal from, of all people, President Cory Aquino of the Philippines for being the most outstanding international student in 1988. After acquiring an MBA degree from De La Salle University in the Philippines, he spent over 20 years as an accountant, lecturer, and chair of the Ministry of the Department of Business in Pakistan and England. Then he was called to church ministry by the South England Conference of Seventh-day Adventists in England. Based on his experience and related research, and as director for the Global Center for Adventist Muslim Relations, he now lectures to thought leaders and professionals on building bridges of understanding and approaches to people from a Muslim worldview and Asian background. He has trained over 2,000 church leaders and pastors around the world to understand the world of Asians and Muslims. Over to you, Pastor Bahadur.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. And thank you for Harjeet and Enoch for inviting me. Really appreciate. I feel very much part of One Vision, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be with all of you. But that was not the case in 1999 when I came into this country. I didn't want to be with South Asians. I didn't have very good experience of being as a South Asian person. So when I came in 1999, I stayed away from South Asians as far as I could. But miraculously, through God's providence, I was led out of business, accounting, lectureship, chair of the Department of Business into ministry. And ministry means religious interfaith dialogue. And the church appointed me into that role. Today, I started from England, and today I work for the General Conference in Washington, D.C. office. And my main role is to bring interfaith relationship between the Asian community and also the Muslim community with Christian community. That is mainly what I do. Amazing. A person who never wanted to be with South Asians today directs ministry to South Asians around the world. So I'd like to say my story is very unique in the sense that I come from Pakistan. And when I meet Pakistani Muslims here and I tell them I'm a Christian from Pakistan, they say, never met a Christian when I was in Pakistan. And I say, what? No, I haven't. I've met scores of people by now. And then I tell them, do you know the story of Christians in Pakistan? Oh, no, we don't know. And then I tell them how our story in Pakistan and India and in Sri Lanka and in Bangladesh, it's the same. Christians are persecuted in all of those countries. And so when they come here, it's basically an asylum away from what we have been facing in those countries. So when you come, you sort of don't want anything to do with South Asians because you've had enough. But I overcame that kind of a animosity or difficulty. The very same people who persecuted my family, the very same people from another faith who were ill-treating and burning our churches in Pakistan are the same people I try to help now. In the West, my organization, which is called Global Center for Adventist Christian Muslim Relations, I try to help Muslims in this country and around the Western world so they can have a voice. I help Christians in churches and organizations to understand who Muslims are, give them the opportunities, allow them to have credibility where they are. Whereas back home, my family, my relations, my people are suffering in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh by the same people I'm trying to help. But I don't blame. Those are different people. We are different people here. I have excellent Muslim friends. I have excellent Hindu and Sikh friends here in this country. And I feel we can all live together as one people. And, that's what we need to aim for. Breaking down the walls of separation. We've had Islam and Christianity, 1400 years of walls of separation. We've had separation between Hindus and Christians and Sikhs for 1,000 years. That needs to stop in the UK. And so I have 4 thoughts that I want to give as I close here. 4 thoughts. Number 1 is I really, really appreciate United Kingdom for accepting our very marginalized Christian community in India, even though there are 24 million Christians in India. I want to thank UK for accepting persecuted Christians in Pakistan, approximately 2 million of them who are all trying to run away from Pakistan, most of them. But I really appreciate UK for doing that. But the most important thing I accept and love UK for is not just to accept us or Christians. No, to accept Muslims and Hindus and Buddhists and anyone who's persecuted. And that's why I'm so proud to be here in Watford, in UK, and to be friends with all of you. Doesn't matter which religion we are from, doesn't matter what our background is, we can forget and move forward and do something great for our community together. And that's what my dream is. Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor Bahadur. And I'm pleased that your journey has, it's a 180 degrees to where it started, so to speak. Thank you for your service also to the community that we all do serve.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Why do you think so many Asians ended up in the UK? Well, we may have an answer for you. I am pleased now to introduce a short video entitled A History of Britain and South Asia with Babitha Sharma of BBC News. Please enjoy.
Britain and South Asia have millennia of history that binds them together. More than 3 million South Asians live in the UK today. That's 1 in 20 people who can trace their heritage back to the region. That's a much bigger population than you find in the whole of Europe. So why are there so many of us here? Well, the relationship actually started long before people realised, with the first migrations being documented in the 1600s. South Asia in the 16 and 1700s was the envy of the world, a prolific exporter of cotton, silk, spices, sugar and steel. Well, this caught the eye of Europeans who wanted in on some of that wealth, and it made South Asia a lucrative place for the British. Through the rise of the East India Company, Britain became a formidable trading force, and the British Empire and its wealth were born. Yes, folks, if it wasn't for South Asia, there wouldn't have been a British Empire as we know it. Empire and colonisation made Britain very wealthy, but it also resulted in subjugating the people of South Asia, and the British ruled over vast swathes of India for almost 200 years. During that time, the world's most famous diamond, the Kohinoor, found its way from Delhi to Afghanistan to Punjab and eventually into the Tower of London, where it forms part of the crown jewels. After the Second World War, where India contributed the largest volunteer army in history of 2.5 million soldiers who fought with the Allies, India gained its independence in 1947. And the new country of Pakistan was born. The partition of India led to the biggest mass migration of humans in history, and sadly the death of at least 1 million people as Britain rushed its exit. A year later, in 1948, the British Nationality Act was passed, which gave Commonwealth citizens the right to live and work here in the UK. These significant waves of migration that followed were critical in rebuilding post-war Britain and running the institutions like our beloved NHS. And did you know by 1961, between 30 and 40% of junior doctors in the UK were of South Asian origin? Well, the influence that these generations have had is seen in the very fabric of modern British culture, from our tea, our nation's favourite drink, of course, and chicken tikka masala, the adopted national dish, to words like jungle, bungalow and even shampoo. South Asian culture is everywhere. It's in fashion, food, entertainment, art, music, sports, language, literature, science, business and much, much more. We thought, you know what, we thought it was about time that we celebrated some of this amazing heritage that we share. Whether your roots are in Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, the Maldives, Bhutan, Nepal or Afghanistan, or you're simply interested in knowing more about South Asian identity, all of our stories are inextricably linked, and we wouldn't be this wonderful, multi-talented nation without them.
Great video. So our next speaker is Christy Tarker, a VPAC program lead and head of community and people wellbeing. adult care services within Hertfordshire County Council. She has worked at the HCC for the last 16 years and has held various senior positions. Christy graduated from the University of Manchester and in the field of history and sociology, and completed her master's in the modern history at the UCL, and later with a postgraduate diploma in management studies. Over to you, Chris.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of One Vision South Asian Heritage Month. I'm really pleased to be here. So my name is Christy Thacker. I head up the community wellbeing team for Hertfordshire County Council, and we commission and develop preventative services delivered by the wonderful Hertfordshire voluntary community sector, just like One Vision, for example. I've also been leading something called VPAC, which stands for the Volunteering People Assistance Cell. So that's been part of Hertfordshire's multi-agency COVID response. So things that we've been doing include mobilising volunteers, the voluntary community sector to support people that have needed the support during COVID. So, for example, people that have been shielding, or people that just needed that support in this, this most awful time that we've been having. So, for example, we've been providing food packs, medication pickup, but also befriending and keeping in touch calls for those older, frailer people that may not have any networks. So I'll just move on a little bit about my background then. So my parents are from Kolkata. So I was really pleased to hear the Calcutta bit mentioned earlier. And my parents arrived in Sheffield in the early 1970s, just the two of them. So we don't have any extended family in this country. So it was just my parents, my mum, my dad, me and my older brother. And as you can imagine, growing up in Sheffield in the 1980s, 1990s, when you are a small Indian family, it could be quite tough, to be honest. So my father worked in Sheffield steel industry, which is why he came to Sheffield. And the rest of the family, like I said, are back in Calcutta. But one thing I was really lucky is my parents scrimped and scraped. We didn't have a huge amount of money, but they scrimped and scraped and made sure that every 2 or 3 years we went back to Kolkata. So we would go, my parents would take us out of school for a few weeks. You're not allowed to do that anymore, but back in those days they did. So we'd go for 6 weeks and spend time with our extended family, my grandparents. And it was amazing. I absolutely loved it, loved the culture, loved the food, music, everything. And more important was the family, the love of the family and that extended family. So it's really hopeful that we will get to visit soon, because this has been the longest period. My parents haven't been able to go back to India. So because of COVID, and I'm sure people have similar experiences here. Sorry, it's very hot, I'm sweating. So yes, really hoping that we will be able to go back at some point soon. Vaccination, obviously, hopefully that will help us with that answer. So 2 really quick things I wanted to say. So a lot of people get very confused by my name, my first name, Christy. It's not very Indian sounding, or it's not very Indian enough. And I get that every day. People get my name wrong. I get called Kirsty every day, and it confuses people, and they're just, oh. But just to say, the name came from my mum. So my mum's name is Krishna, and she read Sanskrit at university, and it's derived from culture. And I think for me, that's what, South Asian heritage is all about. It's about culture and celebrating that culture. I think that was all that I was going to say. One thing that I would really like to reach out to everybody here is I'm really keen in my role at Hertfordshire County Council to support voluntary community organisations, so faith organisations, groups, community groups, doesn't matter how small or how large for that matter. We really want to ensure that we fund these community groups to do the great work that they're doing in the community. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my details in the chat. So if people want to get in contact with me after this meeting to see how we can support your community group or your faith group to engage in community activities and support the communities, especially during this time of pandemic and as we go into recovery. I'll be really keen to hear from you. So I will leave it at that, and I will pop, like I said, I'll put my details, and thank you again for inviting me. Thank you, Enoch. Thank you, Harjit, and hopefully see you all in person one day.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Christy. Not only for this evening, but for all the good work that you have been doing and continue to do in the community. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Our next speaker is Gurinder Chadha, OBE, who is a British, well, I say our next speaker. There's a video coming. Gurinder is a British film director of Indian origin. Most of her films explore the lives of Indians living in England. The common theme among her work showcases the trials of Indian women living in England and how they must reconcile their converging traditional and modern cultures. Although many of her films seem like simple, quirky comedies about Indian women, they actually address many social and emotional issues, especially ones faced by immigrants caught between two worlds. Much of her work also consists of adaptations from book to film, but with a different flair. She's best known for the hit films Baji on the Beach, Bend It Like Beckham, Bride and Prejudice, Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging, It's a Wonderful Afterlife, and Viceroy's House. Her latest features are the biographical musical comedy drama Blinded by the Light and the television show Beecham House. Unfortunately, Gurinder cannot be with us today, but, and this is due to unforeseen last-minute changes, she can't attend, but fortunately, she has recorded a short message for us. Please enjoy.
Hello, greetings everybody. This is Gurinder Chadha, filmmaker. I am here on the road, as you can see, so I'm sorry I can't be with you today while you celebrate South Asian Heritage Day in Hertfordshire. It's an important occasion to acknowledge, and as you know, all my work has been about promoting South Asian heritage, and I'm excited that you guys are looking at this and celebrating through arts and education and politics and all different facets of life. So have a brilliant day and best of luck to you all, and keep celebrating South Asian Heritage Month. Take care. Bye.
Excellent. That was terrific. I do believe that Gurinder was not driving whilst filming the video, but we do appreciate her good wishes to us all this evening. Now then, our next speaker, Dr. Daksha Trivedi, is an academic at the University of Hertfordshire with an interest in public health research and health inequalities. Born and raised in Kenya, Daksha is deeply connected with her rich and diverse Indian heritage. Both in her professional and voluntary work, she encourages community engagement to identify the needs of ethnically diverse communities, particularly around healthcare. As a co-chair of the Hertfordshire Public Health Connect Strategy Group, she promotes partnership and collaborative working to provide benefits for local populations to address inequalities and to work with stakeholders tasked with promoting health and well-being in all communities. Daksha is the vice chair of the North Hertfordshire Interfaith Forum and a member of Welwyn Hatfield Interfaith Group, thereby promoting unity in diversity. As a cancer survivor, she's a strong advocate for research, education, and awareness of cancer care that addresses the needs of South Asian families. She also runs a community cancer support group for patients and their families. Her cancer story is widely featured in local and national media, and in her recently published book, Now Living the Dream, A Tale of surviving cancer. Dr. Daksha, we welcome you this evening. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you, Enoch, for your warm invitation to be part of this wonderful forum marking the South Asian Heritage Month. Michael, thank you for a wonderful introduction. I actually went to school in Kenya, and then my secondary education was in Coventry in the Midlands. From there, I went to the University of Liverpool, and then I came back down to the heart of Chelsea at King's College London. I then went for postgraduate training at the University of Cambridge, trained as an epidemiologist and public health. And I'm saying that just to show what a multi-dimensional context that has placed me in my journey, and how it's that journey that strengthened me to recognize my inner strength as well as my heritage as an Indian in the UK context. Let's just step back a bit. The voices of our ancestors echo the richness of our South Asian heritage, and to whom we pay homage on this day. And when we celebrate this precious inheritance in all aspects of art, literature, language, religion, and education, we do indeed celebrate life. The saints and sages, the protagonists, have laid down the foundations of our heritage so we can discover the intrinsic values that define us. And I have always lived by the maxim of the words of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the Indian nation, who said, "A nation's culture resides in the heart and in the soul of the people." So the heritage of the Indian subcontinent has found a very good home in the United Kingdom, where we can identify ourselves with a sense of belonging, which otherwise would have been lost in the mist of time. Life, literature, and culture are the three quintessential pillars that give us a unique identity, which fosters community involvement, which is at the heart of all the work I do, which is so vital to the South Asian Renaissance. The culture is often defined as the golden thread that bonds us all together, and indeed our cultural values and beliefs manifest themselves through our lifestyles. We are living through great challenges. COVID-19 has highlighted the health disparities in Black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities. And this phenomenon has brought together the one vision, the one purpose, and the one voice of collective action to reduce this disparity. So our cultural norms and beliefs do influence our opportunities for good health, how we think, feel, and act, and this shapes our overall well-being. As Michael mentioned, as a co-chair of the Hertfordshire Public Health Connect Strategy Group, which is a partnership between the University of Hertfordshire and the Hertfordshire County Council, I'm involved in community engagement, partnership, and collaborative working, which is central to promoting health and well-being in all communities. The most important thing that I've learned through my training, through my first stakeholder event that I conducted at the University of Cambridge, is learning to listen to the voices of those often underserved communities, rooted in their cultural beliefs and attitudes, who are sometimes misunderstood. So many organizations that I work with are growing to serve the needs of our community, such as the UK South Asian Health Foundation, through its research and collaborative working, Hertfordshire Asian Women's Association, supporting women to reach their maximum potential as individuals with our community, the Black, Asian, and Minority Cancer Support Group, and the Asian Women's Cancer Group, collaborating with health services are just a few examples. But it is refreshing to note that both in my professional and in my voluntary role and in partnership with key stakeholders, we are actively engaging with South Asian communities, in particular to co-design and co-develop initiatives that address their rightful concerns. Education is key to breaking down barriers, and the University of Hertfordshire, for example, the equality, diversity, and inclusion with its thriving Black and Asian community network, is at the heart of decision-making by listening to the diverse views and responding to the needs of our community. So working together with interfaith communities provides me with a greater understanding of other cultures to embrace unity in diversity and helping our communities to achieve better outcomes, educational outcomes, learning outcomes, life outcomes, and health outcomes. However, our cultural identity intersects with how we experience our life-changing events. And it is necessary to understand that we have the opportunity to move away from stigmas that not only stunt our growth, but they render us helpless. For example, having been through a cancer journey myself and being an advocate in cancer care, I have realized the needs of South Asian families where cultural beliefs play an important role and how we can collectively break painful silence of families undergoing such tragic events. My story, Now Living the Dream, A Tale of Surviving Cancer, is for charity, speaks of how my faith, my culture, and education has influenced my journey. And most importantly, that when we are heard, we feel understood. And this also helps those who care for us. Our culture, by the virtue of its nature, is holistic, and our faith is a way of life. So let us rejoice this momentous occasion with open-heartedness and inclusiveness. Through the one caste of humanity and the one language of the heart, we can get together and make a difference. South Asian Heritage Month gives us the necessary space to think about these things, to celebrate life through our rich cultural tapestry. I commend the noble aspirations of the One Vision, One Voice initiative in bringing all of us together, and through its asset-based approach, both individually and collectively, pave the way for future generations to come. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daksha. So moving on to Bharatanatyam, which is a major form of Indian classical dance that originated in Tamil Nadu within the southern parts of India. It has flourished within temples and courts of southern India since ancient times. It's now one of the most widely recognized Indian form of dance. Let's enjoy this video as we watch an example of Bharatanatyam.
Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Sari ga ma ga re sa ga pa ni sa ni pa ga ni sa ri re ga re sa ni pa ga re sa ni ta ta ta. Dim 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 ta di di dim.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. May I now ask Enoch and Harjeet for their experience and views. Enoch and Harjeet are both of South Asian heritage, as you know, and they're also leaders in One Vision. Let's start with Harjeet. Harjeet, what is your experience? Why is it important to celebrate the South Asian heritage?
Welcome everyone, and I think tonight's an important fact that for the first time ever in Hertfordshire we're celebrating South Asian Heritage Month. It's important for future generations to understand where their foundation, where they've come from, because those people that understand their foundation, their heritage, their background, will also be those model people in their society to take their society forward and be strong, and also to welcome and to have that love and that relationship building with other communities. So it's a very important aspect to why we need to be looking at the South Asian Heritage Month.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on that, Harjeet. I believe that Enoch would like to share an experience with us. Is that right, Enoch?
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much, my good friend. You have been doing an excellent job. I am proud to join in adding my voice on behalf of all our One Vision team and One Voice team. I'm here celebrating the Heritage Month with my family here. And you can see my wife, Nishta, if she can wave her hand, my son, Jaden, and Jasmine here. We all dressed colorfully. Beautiful. We feel South Asian heritage. And also I'm celebrating with my good friends, Richard and Greta here, who've been to India over 10 years, building orphanages and looking after the vulnerable people in India. They spent a lot of time in India. Thank you so much. This is wonderful time for us to celebrate. That's what One Vision is actually bringing communities together. One of the things that's so beautiful about South Asian, I think it needs to be highlighted, is that South Asia is actually very, very diverse. It's comprised of languages, religions, cuisines, cultures, and I want to pay homage to those various diverse culture by run through on some of the greetings. So before I begin, there is a number of religions, and I want to just acknowledge some of them. There is Hinduism, there is Islam, Sikh, there is Jain, Buddhism, Christianity. Some of the oldest elements and chant can be found in South Asia: Parsi, Zoroastrian, animism, the moon of that we spiritually look into it. The Aboriginal people of South Asia. This compromise monastic beliefs, as well as monotheistic and polytheistic belief. This is exactly what South Asian is. Now, some of the greetings in different languages include Namaste or Namaskar, Assalamu alaikum in Urdu, Sat Sri Akal in Punjabi. It's such a diverse land. I'm going to go through some of them. You probably know there's many languages in India. I'm going to flick through some of the languages found in India, especially in Watford. Many of you here may understand. In Gujarati, they say Kemcho, Maja Mache. In Malayalam, Endo Vishesham. In Hindi, Ab Kaisa Hai. Similarly, in Urdu, in Punjabi, Kya hai? In Bengali, Tumi Keman Ocho. In Tamil, what I speak, Walakam, Epudi Rikinga. In Rajasthani, Ab Kya Hu, where my good friend Raj and Nima is originated from. In Nepali, Kastucha Tai Poilie. In Sinhalese, Pata Komade, Tasankavi in Parastu. There is so many languages and there is so much diversity. One of the things I think it is so important us to do in South Asian Heritage Month is to celebrate the diversity. Really provide an ability to look all those different cultures and give them a space to celebrate that diversity so that we can come close together. That is what One Vision and One Voice is doing here right now, bringing people from different diversity together in Hertfordshire. Often think that there is so many things that separate us. As many things divide, the more we can get close, the more we celebrate our uniqueness of our diversity. We actually come to realize that we have so much in common when we come close together. I just want to especially mention for the younger generation, they are our future generation, actually. Please listen to this carefully. One of the things that I think particularly phenomenal about this month is the idea of celebrating those who have trailblazed, those who have done so much to make the path easier for people like myself and future generation to come. When we think about what difficulties our forefathers and foremothers or the generation before faced when they came to UK, the barriers they face and how they overcome those barriers, how they surmounted those obstacles. I think it is particularly powerful to pay some respect to that. Now, I'll be working very closely with my team and also with my good friend Faisal in Equality and his team in Hertfordshire County Council. And I've been ringing County Council and Equality team. Let's bring this community out. Let's give them a space to celebrate and close together. That's what One Vision want to achieve when the COVID is all come to an end. This will really show people who have achieved so much despite of some of the obstacles and barriers they faced. So we need to create a society where we can celebrate our diversity, and that what One Voice will deliver that. Unfortunately, we're still in the COVID, midst of the COVID. We have to encourage the vaccination to our diverse community, whatever the reason is. We have to come together. Next year, this time in Hertfordshire, there will be a big noise about South Asian celebration in Hertfordshire, throughout the Hertfordshire. Come on, let's celebrate. Let's get closer together. Whatever the diversity we belong to, we are human beings. That's what we should do. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Enoch, and thank you, Harjeet. Just on those last thoughts, I guess next year, with hopefully COVID behind us, we shall have a live event. And then some of the wonderful dance and music and song that we heard, hopefully will be live as well. So great idea. Thank you both for your thoughts this evening. We're nearing our close, but before we do that, we will now hear from our civic and national political leaders. And first up is Councillor Mark Watkin, who is the Watford Borough Council portfolio holder for resources. Councillor Watkin is also a county councillor representing the Nascot Park division. We are pleased that he's also a patron of One Vision. Councillor Watkin, what do you make of the South Asian Heritage celebrations?
I welcome it. Thank you very much indeed, Michael. I also chair the County Council Standing Advisory Council for Religious Education, which is quite a mouthful, but we oversee the syllabus of religious education in schools. And I have to say, we absolutely work to encourage as many faiths as possible to engage with us to make sure that the syllabus recognises and celebrates the breadth of vision, the breadth of worship and faith that are in our community. So let me just say that everything that I've heard today is absolutely what I would like to see grow and flourish in Watford. And I think it is growing and flourishing in Watford already. I've lived in this town for over 40 years. And when I first arrived, the South Asian community was largely in West Watford and largely new arrivals and often struggling just to be able to sort of make sure that their children were fed and their children were educated. Well, that situation has changed beyond all recognition. In my division, we have a very large community of successful, active, very, very outward-going Asian families who provide tremendously to what Watford is. And it's something that I'm really proud about because Watford has such a diverse community. I believe that there are 40 different languages spoken in some of our primary schools, and yet you do not hear of the tension and the stress and dare I say it, the rivalry between the communities. There's a real intent on trying to work together and learning more about each other. It's a very long journey, and I know that for many people, it's a journey they're going to have to work hard to go on. So from where I'm sitting as a proud patron of One Vision, One Voice, I will do everything I can politically to help foster and develop that relationship, that understanding between our communities. We are well established, but we can do much more. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your thoughts, Councillor Mark Watkin, and for your support as well, to say the least, and all your efforts in the community. It is greatly appreciated. Our next speaker needs little introduction as well. Dean Russell is the MP for Watford and trustee of One Vision. Watford, Dean, and Hertfordshire as a whole is a most diverse community. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you so much for, first of all, for organising this tonight, for hosting it so brilliantly, all of you, and allowing me to speak. I think for me, it really comes down to one word, always, which is community. And I know I've said this many times before, but I think in Watford and across Hertfordshire, but Watford in particular, I think we have a really, really strong community which is built upon its diversity rather than trying to work against it, if that makes sense, trying to create lots of mini communities and then create a label across the top. I think we are interwoven, and I've said this before. I know that I feel that often in a community there's lots of threads which are easily broken, but if you weave us all together and the tapestry that creates, it's very hard to pull us apart. And I think that's one of the most important points for me, that it's about that. But within that diversity, it's also a lot of joy and a lot of friendships and a lot of creativity. And I was reflecting actually just when some of the speakers were giving their excellent points, actually how much especially South Asia has really influenced me creatively. Some of you may know that I do portraits, and I was looking through, if I can share my screen, I was looking through some of the portraits that I'd created previously, just in the past year or two, or actually just prior to becoming an MP. I'll try and share these. I don't know whether they'll be viewable on screen, but can you see it's one of my portraits from about 2 years ago. Similarly, working with a lot of different diverse organisations. These ones are primarily from the Sikh community. But one of the aspects when you're creating art is getting to know people, getting to know their history, getting to know why their faces are a particular way, you know, why they've got certain creases and what that means. And for me, it's been so important over the years in my joy of creativity to get to know cultures and get to know people. I won't share all of my paintings, but just a small section. But you know, for me, in terms of my upbringing, for some reason, people often think I'm from Luton, which I've never lived there, but I actually was brought up in Birmingham. And in Birmingham, I've always lived in very diverse, multicultural locations. Birmingham originally, then I lived in Leicester for many years doing physics, and then moved down to London, and then moved to Hertfordshire. And obviously, I've known Watford for 20 years since being with my wife, but lived here since the start of last year. And I think for me, what really comes through is actually getting to know people's life stories and getting to know why they live in certain places, why they do certain types of community work, why they do what they do. And it always comes back to that same word of community. And I think what we've got in Watford and what we need to make sure that we really hang on to is celebrating how different we all are, whilst recognising and really holding on to what keeps us together. And often that comes down to family links. It comes down to wanting to have a better life for us all, wanting to live in a community that's safe, lots of that sort of stuff. But also it's about the richness that brings. And when I talk about the tapestry that we all bring together, that often isn't just about doing good things like volunteering, which of course has been, you know, part of all of our lives on this over the past year and a half during the awfulness of COVID. But it is in our music, it's in our art, it's in our books, it's in our films, it's in our creative output. And I've been so fortunate over the past year that when I could visit events, they're very rarely just going there and sitting and chatting to people. They usually involve, like tonight, beautiful music. I mean, the Ed Sheeran piece right at the start was just mesmerising. And I always remember the first time I went to the Gurdwara when I was standing for election, there was this beautiful piece of music being played, and I was being told to go to the next event. And I said, no, can you let me stay for another hour? And I sat in there just to listen. And that's similar for many of the different events that I've been to across Watford. And I think, you know, the more we can hang on to that and we can celebrate that diversity and creativity, that diversity in our stories, our diversity in terms of what we want to achieve in life, but also recognizing the commonality that if we do it together, we're stronger. If we do it by celebrating each other, we're better. But also, if we can do it in a way that improves all of our lives, that's got to create a greater society for us all. So for me, these events have been fantastic. I really wholeheartedly enjoy all of them, even though I'm sweating quite a bit rather stupidly wearing a tie and a shirt. I should wear a t-shirt in this weather. But I want to thank you all, because all of you in some way over the past years touched my life in some form and definitely touched each other's lives. And so I want to say thank you for everything you've done to get us through a difficult time. And I think we'll be stronger for it, but I think we've known each other better for it, because actually as we go forward, we can enjoy our music together, we can enjoy our stories together, we can enjoy our lives together, and we can build our community to be stronger together. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to seeing you all in person soon. Thank you.
Many thanks, Dean. It is great to know that we have a multi-talented MP, and we do look forward to your art collection being shown at a well-known gallery soon, to say the least. So wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Just before we hear from Mayor Peter Taylor, may I, if she's still with us, Deputy Mayor Aga, is she still with us? Would she like to just share a word or two of her thoughts regarding the South Asian Heritage celebrations?
Thank you very much. I don't know if you could hear me. Unfortunately, my camera not working. Technical issue. I need to check what is happening with my computer. I would like to thank you very much for your invitation. Thank you for organizing this event. As my colleagues and friends said before, we are a very diversity town, and that's our greatest strength. I cannot be more proud that I'm part of this event today, and we here celebrating that wonderful event. I do believe that next year, with the better outcomes, we will be able to meet face to face and organizing a quite a big event to celebrate that lovely culture that is very beautiful, not only with the food, but also with the dancing and music, which is most of I enjoying. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you, Aga, for your kind words, to say the least, and for joining us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we're nearly at an end, but trust me, you're going to want to stay until the end. We have a wonderful surprise for you. Just before Dea takes over, may I just mention to you, Mayor Peter Taylor is celebrating his wedding anniversary and cannot be with us this evening, but he did record a message for us. Lucas, please, could you play the video?
Hi everyone, it's Peter Taylor here, the elected Mayor of Watford. I'm really sorry that I can't join you on this occasion, but I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all of those who've made this important event possible. Watford is a town blessed with people from all walks of life and many different backgrounds, all making a very positive contribution to the town. One of the great things about Watford is the way that we work together, and I'd like to pay tribute to One Vision and the Watford Interfaith Association and others for the way that they bring us all together. People of South Asian heritage have made a huge contribution, be that in cuisine, music, business, so many different ways, and of course in charitable works too. Over the last year and a half with COVID, we've seen that more than ever. So I'm really grateful to all of those who played a massive part in Watford over the years, making a positive difference, which is so important. The theme of this year's South Asian Heritage Month is Celebrate, Educate and Communicate. And so I'm really looking forward to having more conversations, to learning more about South Asian heritage and the way in which people have played a massive part in the history of our town. So thanks again to everyone who's helped organise today's event. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks very much.
Director of BUC Health Ministries, Women's Ministries and Community Services, Ministry of Seventh-day Adventist and Chair of One Voice. First, let's enjoy the Bollywood video, and then Sharon, thank you. They will offer the closing remarks. Thank you.
रघुकुल रीत सदा चली आई, प्राण जाए पर वचन न जाए। जय रघुवंशी अयोध्यापति रामचंद्र
आवाज अच्छी है, बस थोड़ा नमक कम है। और राग में नमक आने के लिए नमकीन जिंदगी जीनी पड़ती है। और नमक ज्यादा हो जाए तो कड़वी हो जाती है जिंदगी। मैं आपसे संगीत सीखने आई हूँ। हमारे यहाँ संगीत को गाना कहते हैं। गाना सिखाने की जो कीमत हो मंजूर है। हमारी कला इतनी अजीम है कि उसकी कीमत नहीं लगाई जा सकती। आप शादीशुदा हैं। हमारा तजुर्बा है कि एक बार जो उस आग की चक्कर काट लेता है, उसके अंदर की आग हमेशा के लिए बुझ जाती है। उसी बुझी हुई आग को फिर से जगाने आई हूँ। मुझे यहाँ से नाउम्मीद ना लौटाइए।
रूप, शाम हो रही है, हमें चलना चाहिए।
आप चौधरी के यहाँ काम करती हैं?
जी।
आपके घर पे पता है कि आप हमसे मिलने आई हैं? जी, पता है। कल आइएगा, आपकी आवाज फिर से सुनेंगे, और अगर दोबारा पसंद आई तो आपको जरूर सिखाएगी। फिलहाल इस गुफ्तगू से थक गए हैं हम। खुदा हाफिज।
That was certainly captivating. I'm sure you all enjoyed that. You know, it has been an absolute pleasure to have been invited to participate on this platform today and to share in the Zoom event to celebrate South Asian Heritage Month. Have you enjoyed it? I'm sure you have. It's been tremendous. Now, today as we listened to various speakers, it was certainly a delight to both see and hear the rich diversity and to participate in what is the signature of the South Asian diaspora, so to speak. And I have always been captivated by the vibrancy of the varying cultural groups that make up the vast areas of what they're now saying 8 countries: India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan. And, you know, as I looked over those statistics, it reminded me of a famous quote from Fabiola Giannotto when he said this: diversity is really a richness for mankind. And how true that is as we embrace all that these countries have to offer. Captivating artistic music, which is indicative of its cultures, its creative and individual cultures, wonderful foods that tantalize and excite our taste buds, along with rich aromas that promises and delivers on the flavors of their unique cuisine. A kaleidoscope of warm colors typical of the varying and distinctive cultural attire. And, you know, as you're aware, that this month-long festivities, I call it, centers around 3 key themes: celebrate, commemorate, and educate. And that really entails celebrating the identity, as you know, and heritage that makes this people group so significant. Also commemorating important dates that mark their rich history and offering an opportunity to educate society, the UK and wider afield as a whole, about what South Asia has to offer. And what a huge amount there is to celebrate, to commemorate and to educate over these next few weeks. Now, last week, I watched an intriguing programme on BBC One captioned Our NHS, A Hidden History by David Olusoga. And it featured the significant contribution of South Asian doctors and medics and other professionals to the progression of the NHS. And as I watched that, it hit home for me because as a student nurse at the Nightingale School of Nursing, St Thomas's Hospital, and subsequently throughout my career in the NHS, I worked alongside many doctors and medical staff, nurses, etc., throughout my entire time and as my career progressed. And I learned tremendously from those interactions. And that program last week was a prime opportunity to educate many in the UK of the contribution South Asian personnel and professionals have made to the development and enhancement of the NHS. And on a personal note, along with much of the UK, my husband and I regularly enjoy South Asian cuisine. And although we're from a West Indian background, when my family come to visit at our home, our primary eat out and restaurant experiences is always South Asian. So that says something about their cuisine. And also I have several South Asian attires such as saris and dhotis that I wear on special occasions for the community. And I attend many multicultural community events and I just love their fabric and styles. And so that's amongst my wardrobe pieces that I wear regularly. And so it has been a joy to hear from the speakers this evening who have added their special brand, their reasons to celebrate, their reasons to commemorate, and their reasons to educate of this rich heritage. And it is my hope that as the subsequent weeks unfold until August 17, our nation will be richer for having shared in the acknowledgement and festivities of South Asian Heritage Month. And so I close with the words from Albert Einstein when he said, "We must not just tolerate our differences, we must welcome them as the richness and diversity which can lead to true intelligence."